Hello, you beautiful person, and thank you so much for clicking on yet another video. Now, I am a Kenyan woman who lives in Austria because I got together with an Austrian man. I know another woman also from Kenya, and she lives here as well, but not the same town. She lives in a much bigger city, and she's also married to an Austrian guy. The other day, we were having a phone conversation. I'm supposed to visit her, and she asked me about, my experience with work here. And I told her, because I have taken up different jobs in Austria, and I do encourage immigrants, foreigners, anybody who comes out to the West, whether you're a refugee or if, like me, you came out here because you got married to a local, I encourage you to put yourself out there. Go out there and actually apply for jobs. Go out there and just interact with the locals, because it goes a long way in one, ensuring you're always in a good mental space. Being outside with people is always a good thing. Do not isolate yourself as a foreigner. 2, ensuring that you're mastering the German language. If it's in France, you're starting to master the French language because you work with them. In Italy, the Italian language, and so on and so forth. It goes a long way in helping with the language. And 3, it really helps to hasten your paperwork. If especially you need residency, when the government reviews papers and sees that you've been paying taxes in their country, you really get a lot of respect from whatever government of whatever country you are based at. I know some of us got together with, provider men of means, because we don't like paying for our isht, and so you might be in that category where you do not need to work like that girl or like myself, but I still advocate that you look for even a part-time job or ask him to open up a small business for you. Do not just sit at home, because that's what brings in laziness, low self-esteem, and frankly speaking, insanity. Because this is an isolating community or society. It's not like back at home on the African continent. I'm not only going to refer to Kenya. It's not like the African continent where the community or society just embraces you and you become, you blend in quite quickly. There's a reason why Africans are called warm people, warm, welcoming culture, extroverted people, and the West is called cold, isolating, introverted. It's a cultural difference. In my eyes, there's no right or wrong culture, but if you want to have a better life, a healthier life, please come out here and apply even at your local flower shop. Just go there and help the lady decorate the flowers outside her shop and earn your own money. That's yet another advantage. Even if you're getting provided for, a little extra money ain't never had nobody. That way you'll be able to even invest back at home in your country of birth. So that would be my first-hand advice. Take it or leave it. So this girl was asking me about my experiences working in Austria, because as a Kenyan, she never took up any job. She told me she took up a job once in the big city in Vienna, and she said she will never, ever, ever work again in Austria, which was, kind of hilarious for me. So I was just giggling, going like, why would you say something like that? It's very important for you to, I told her maybe that one place, it wasn't working out for you, but you can always find a different place. But then she was like, Liz, let me keep it 100 with you. How can you work with white chicks? How can you work with white women? How? Explain to me how you've been working with white women. And this is what this video is all about. If you're a black woman, I won't even talk for brown women or, mixed women, because I'm not them. I'll talk for my people, especially Africans. I won't even talk about, black women from other parts of the world. Let's just talk about us, me, a black woman, an African. You don't need any explanation to that question. Everybody else might need me to break down that question and be like, what does she mean? How can you work with white chicks? What does she mean? They're just women like any other women. We know what she is asking, okay? We understand fully what she is asking. And so I will try and explain to you what she is asking and why a lot of foreigners, especially black women from the African continent, would rather not work with white chicks, and why they shy away from applying for jobs. I fully understood her question, even without any explanation. She was like, unafanya aje kazi na wanawake wazungu? How can you work with those women? How is that possible? Because I told her I've been working for some years and I never had any major problems. Maybe 1 or 2 issues here and there, but I always handled them and I moved on. So she was like, but how do you work with white chicks? So that's what I want to explain. You see, with this one, we have to throw it all the way back. We have to throw it all the way to, back to the history of the world and how the world evolved. White men went around the world. They came from Europe, they went to America, they went to Australia, New Zealand, the African continent, Asia. They went all around the world. In recent history, I'm talking about not ancient history, recent history, it was the white settlers. They went out there and they stole as much as they could. Through slave trade, colonialism, we know recent history. And so they enriched their continent. Their continent became a continent that works, thanks to, for the most part, stealing. It is written history, it is factual. And they continue to do so. For instance, France. France is still colonizing a lot of countries in Africa, maybe not directly like before, but they have a lot of puppet leaders on the African continent, and they continue to just take money from Africa through minerals, resources, etc. I have made political videos going into more details. You can check out my series right here on YouTube called Africa Rising. I made part 1 to part 10. And the UK. Their governments, not the people, the governments, they continue to impoverish a lot of countries on the African continent and in Asia. This is now recent history. And because of that, they build infrastructure here in the West that works well for the last 200 years. Their infrastructure has been working very well. With an unfair head start, they were able to make industries for themselves through the blood, the sweat, and the tears of others. And so they lived comfortably. What does that mean? Fathers were able to provide for their families easily. Little girls were raised to believe that they are a gift to the world. Little white children. They were raised in a society that for the most part works. They don't come from like developing nations like some of us. They come from a place where a meal was guaranteed. I'm not saying out here everybody is rich, obviously not. Even out here there are poor people whose life, did not turn out well. They have their middle class, upper middle class, they have their rich and they have their wealthy, just like every other place. But if you look at the opportunities that even the people here who are poor were given, it is a huge difference compared to third world countries or developing countries. The opportunities were there. So maybe they suffered mental illness, maybe they were bewitched, or whatever happened to them, they weren't able to make it. Maybe they were abused. They're only human beings. They face the same challenges like all human beings everywhere. But for the most part, if you look at it from, a bird's eye view, in the West, they have more opportunities than the African people on the African continent when it comes to at least the last 200 years. So they've been able to build countries that have schools that are working well, hospitals that are working well. I really don't take it for granted how the infrastructure out here works. And there's a lot we can learn from just how they run their industries. Very competent, I will give them that. We can talk about how they got to that point, but we cannot always dwell in the past. At some point, we have to move on from the past. That's not to say that the past does not affect the current and also the future. It does, and we see it. We see the ripple effects, right? Video for another day. But now, fathers raised these little entitled children. Hence why you meet a lot of grown white ladies with that daddy's little princess complex. These little entitled children that were made to feel like they are a gift to the world. And fathers called their little girls daddy's little princess. So that princess complex, which some people have said I also suffer from because of the way I was raised in Kenya. Again, in Kenya, we also have classes and I was more of like middle class. But a lot of white chicks, you see it even at work, that complex of like, I am a gift to the world is there. It is real. It is not imagined. Allow me to illustrate this point a little more. There was a study that was done by the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, and even though the study focused on the US, I feel like some of its findings apply also here in Europe, where I live and where I have worked, and it also applies to a lot of African organizations where I also lived and worked. And that is quite something, the fact that it can also apply on the African continent, because you'd think that where black people are the majority, we wouldn't have this problem, but you'd be surprised that even in a country like Kenya, where we tend to have expatriates and we also work with white folks, this applies where we are the majority. And what is this I'm referring to? It is that white chicks have the highest retention and promotion rates. The possibility of them being promoted at a workplace compared to other races was seen by the study as generally being much higher, like a pattern formed where researchers could see that this is a problem at the workplace. This is something that happens at the workplace that is not only unfair, but it's just at this point ridiculous, considering that we live in a modern world. So the lowest, the ones who are least likely to be retained or promoted was mostly black women, and then on top of them was women from Latina communities, Hispanics, and then Asian women. And in my mind at this point, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not even blaming white women anymore. I'm not blaming them for any of this. If you raise people with the mentality that they are a gift to the world, they will expect preferential treatment. How then do you expect to hold them accountable? At this point, it's the fathers, it's the community, it's the society, it's the history of the modern world. It's how things were carved out. So I'm looking at all these current videos, for instance, that people keep on posting on the internet, showing how white chicks terrorize random people, strangers. They stand there like they're the police or the military. They call the police on people. They use their privilege in society to just harass people. And I'm like, but what do you expect, right? What do you expect when you tell people that they are a gift to us, to humanity, to everybody? Like that princess complex, it will only grow. It can't be smaller if we don't address the root cause, right? So I'm at a point where I'm just like, well, white chicks are just doing what you would do if you were in their position, probably, because if something is what has always happened and it is how it is expected to be, why would you expect that the person would be accountable? My words are all over the place, but if you get my point, then you get it. Let me just read you a part of an article that I found online that I thought was very interesting about archetypes. A brief history of archetypes. Quote, Carl Jung is considered the father of archetypal psychology. He posited that there are universal patterns expressed in images and present in the collective unconscious of all humans across all cultures. These images are referred to as archetypes. An example of archetypes includes the mother, someone who is nurturing, loving, and protective. The trickster, someone who cheats or tests boundaries. The hero, someone usually depicted as male who overcomes obstacles to reach a goal. These are not just personal characteristics. Archetypes are thought to be deep, abiding, and powerful. Underline deep. According to Jung, they create myths, religions, and philosophies that influence and characterize whole nations and epochs of history. And I couldn't, end quote, and I couldn't agree more. You see, the archetype of the fragile, sensitive white woman who should be handled like an egg, either if you don't handle her that way, she will break, who needs to be put on a pedestal, it becomes ingrained in us. It becomes deep. Therefore, when the black woman is presented as hard, she can handle it, she's not sensitive, she can take pain, she is aggressive, she's angry, it becomes part of the story, the societal fiber. So that's why I said, like, once we accepted certain archetypes, why then would we expect any accountability from white female counterparts at work? It's their archetype, it's their fathers, it's the way society was convinced from like pre-colonial days, right? So, and colonialism only made it deeper. So I'm at that point where I'm looking at the picture a little bit from a bit of a wider scope, and not just, the everyday white woman not expecting to be held accountable at work, her expecting double standards to be given to her expecting preferential treatment, her expecting to be promoted fast, her expecting a higher salary. It's just the archetype. It's just the way, the way the weaving of society happened over time. So when researchers do such research and they notice a pattern, it doesn't shock me. It's like, hello, what did you expect any different? And the society has been crafted in a way that puts them on a pedestal. Like, their men literally worship them. So once you are surrounded by such women, it becomes quite a challenge navigating work with such women. Women who are not used to being told no, being put in their place, having a finger in their face. They're not used to that. While we come from societies where that is quite common. Actually, you might even get hit, right? Because of the socio-economic differences and the structure at work not allowing us to be, forget brats, forget being entitled, to even be confident, even just the basic confidence. We come from cultures where you don't have time for that because you just have to survive. You don't have time to stop and think of yourself. People are on the grind, they're hustling, they're just trying to survive. So when she asked me, like, how can you work with white chicks? I understood exactly what she is asking. Let me put out a disclaimer. Not all white women act that way. Obviously, there are some exceptions. There are some white chicks who ended up being lovely people who have a bigger understanding outside of their little bubble, of their little town, their little city. They understand that the world is different and that there are many different places in the world with many different cultures. And there are some very intelligent ones as well. But what she is asking is about that entitlement that brings about a type of like arrogance that you will encounter when you're in the same working space with them. Like in German it's called Hochnäsig, like having their nose a little bit in the air, like I'm doing you a favor by just being here, I am a gift. And you see how it has affected their societies in terms of even marriage. There are a lot of failing marriages here, a lot of high rate of divorce, because women are not playing that traditional role of like taking care of their home and letting the man be the head of the home because of that modernization. So everything has its pros and cons. And so I understand fully when somebody says, how are you able to work with white chicks? Because I know that even as they argue about feminism, they don't consider that you as a woman who looks different, if you're black or you're brown, you don't only struggle with feminism, you also struggle with, you don't struggle with like misogyny or like men trying to boss you around. You don't struggle only with that. You also struggle with the fact that you look different. You also struggle with discrimination that is based on xenophobia and racism. A lot of white chicks don't understand that. So sometimes even when at work they want to talk about empowering women, being there for women, I'm like, I'm not part of that gang. You do your thing over there, because you will never understand that I have a double challenge that you don't have. You only have that challenge of like men talking down on you, which is okay, you can go and fight it, But I have a different challenge altogether. First, they're talking down on me because I'm a woman, and secondly, they're talking down on me because I'm a black woman, something that you're not going to understand. So I won't even bother like with your little let's get together, girl power group and click and things in the office that I don't need to be a part of, because I know by default you don't consider me a part of it. So to answer her question, how can I work with white women? By just being myself, by just doing my job, by just giving everybody the same level of respect. And if they give me a reason not to respect them, then I step back. By just knowing my priorities. You don't need to get into people's issues and understand people psychologically, or like all the time try to like correct them. And no, the world will do that, right? In Swahili we say asiyefunzwa na mamaye hufunzwa na ulimwengu. If your mom didn't teach you at home, the universe will certainly teach you. Don't worry. You're not the fixer. You know, you do your job. Do you need money? Then go out there and make your money. Do you need your life to be busy? Then go out there and be busy. Don't worry about people, because people come from different cultures at the end of the day. But I know, trust me, do not come for me. I know it is easier said than done. So you need a lot of patience and understanding, and of course prayer. I am a very prayerful woman, and I have seen instances at work where you're working with a white chick, but she would rather wait for a white man who subconsciously has a lot more authority than you could ever have, because subconsciously they're thinking about their dad who told them they're a, you know, little princess and a gift to the world. So they would rather wait for a male figure at work to come and confirm something which you just told them. Like, they're not going to take your word for it. Even if you're the one who was there for the training, you know what you're talking about, you're sure of it, they need that seal of like approval and recognition from like a white man, from daddy. You're not daddy, right? You're a black woman. She cannot take your word for it. Or instances where they struggle to actually let you teach them something. So when she asked me that question, sorry, my leg fell asleep. Wakey, wake up and smell the coffee. I was sitting on one of my legs and it fell asleep. So when she asked me that question, like, Liz, unawezaje fanya kazi na wanawake wa kizungu? Like, how can you work with white chicks? I knew exactly what she was asking. The other challenge that comes about when you work with white women is that they don't like to be outsmarted or outshined. Because again, of the way the society is set, there is this lie that was propagated by a lot of people who supported colonialism, that other people who are non-white are intellectually inferior, and this is why they had to be colonized. This was a lie that their forefathers said in order to justify why they were stealing so much and killing so much. That lie, even today, is adapted, not directly, but it is adapted through different forms of media, where it's like the figure of authority, the person who can teach is the one who is white, and the one who is to be taught has to be non-white. You see it every other day when you look at society as a whole. It's like, we even see it in Kenya, where you will go into a meeting and you will find Kenyans who are for the most part black, and then you will find a couple of white people, and even the Africans expect that one of those white people must be the person chairing this meeting. They must be, I've seen that in corporate Nairobi, I've seen that the white person must be in charge. And when a black person stands up to now chair the meeting, especially a black woman, you see people looking at one another like something is amiss here, something is not right here. Basically because that's what the colonizer did. He brainwashed people that way, and he did it so well that hundreds of years later, the undertone of that is still there. So you trying to teach, especially a white woman, something is like, are you looking down on me? Are you attacking me? No, I'm trying to teach you something you do not know that I know. It's like something is wrong, you know. So you have to excuse them. You have to know that this programming will take time before it goes away. It is a programming. Them asking you a question, especially in a country where you don't even speak their language, right? Like here, they speak German in Austria, and I'm speaking broken German, but I understand something better than you do. and I want to teach you, and you're older than me maybe, or you're a man or a woman who is a white chick who knows that, she's a gift to this world, and I'm trying to tell her, no, actually you're wrong, this is how it's done, they take it very personally. They take it very personally, and you can't really blame them because, again, it's programming. It's programming. It's a kind of superiority complex that was put there by their forefathers that will take time before it goes away. They can't believe that there's something that they don't. Because if you knew so much, why aren't you in your country? Why are you here? That's the way they're thinking. Because, look, someone like me, I'm a Kenyan. I got married to an Austrian. And that's how I ended up moving to the West. The West gave me better opportunities. Because, again, if you look at history, there's a reason why countries in Africa are starting to build now. There are very many socio-economic reasons, not only colonialism, many others that we can't really get through in one video. You have to watch maybe my series which I made on that. You can go and watch it because certain countries are still under the thumb of the West to date. A lot of reasons, political, philosophical, socio-economic, and I'm the kind of African who wants to now move on and not let anything, hold us back anymore. But that's another video altogether. And I'm glad that young leaders are starting to arise and they're starting to question the status quo. Kudos to that. But now, the person who has lived in a bubble might not get that. They might be like, so why is your country not rich if you know so much? Because that's just the way they think. They're in that bubble of thinking that way. You have nothing to teach me. You have nothing I can benefit from you. It's a kind of arrogance that is just by default, just by the way the world evolved. If you have that understanding, you will work with them seamless, like without any issues, because you understand where the person is coming from. You understand that it's not easy for them to realize that they're not the best of the best. The third thing that she meant when she asked me, how can you work with these women, is because of how they turn everything into a competition. How everything, when you work with them, is a contest. And that's not to say that, non-white chicks are very easy to work with, like black women are, perfect to work with. No, obviously they also come with their challenges, but like, it's much better to work with Kenyans, for instance, Kenyan women, because of the humility, that is one, and because of the fact that we are hardly passive-aggressive. My people are hardly passive-aggressive. They will tell you what they need to say directly to your face, and again, that is just the way the society is. They don't say what they want to say directly because they have to maintain a certain image of good manners. That's a whole other thing. But like with black women, there's also a lot of confrontations that I didn't enjoy while working with black women. So every place has its pros and cons, right? But in my view, it is much easier to work with like black and brown people than it has been to work with especially white chicks. They come with a lot of challenges because of what I just explained. That thing that was planted in them, that they are in some ways superior. So everything then becomes a competition, a contest. And we come from a culture where, Hakuna Matata mentality. And I even want to explain to you why they have that need to compete. You have got to understand that when the first Europeans came to the European continent, when they moved through Eurasia, this is now ancient history, the very first human beings to step on the European continent, they interacted with the Neanderthals, right? Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, modern day white people, they have the most Neanderthal DNA. When they came to this continent, they found ice. You need to understand that. These people found ice. Everything you see, everything they built was built from nothing, from ice. Go and read the Viking history. Go and read about how many of them died on the way. Go and read about, when I say on the way, I don't mean literally the way. I mean like throughout history. What brought them to this point where they are living in so-called civilized societies? What brought them to this point? White folks live on ice to date. Like, you look at their weather, winter, like you look at how our weather is just very conducive, Hakuna Matata mentality, everything moves slower, people tend to be happier, there are higher rates of depression here, but there's more money here. So if you look at such things, you come to understand why they are competitive. Because for them, it was like, you're either the best or you die. For them, it was like that. Like, they have got to be highly competent. They have got to be, if it takes them being cold and ruthless, so be it. They cannot put their empathy or humanity because, in front or like a priority, because otherwise they won't have enough for winter. That's the way they evolved. They had to get as much as they can before the darkness comes, before winter comes. Right now you're living in modern houses with heating. But back then they were in caves. We were in conducive weathers. On the African continent, you can just go, take coconut and just like Hakuna Matata, just go about your day on the beach, and when the sun sets, you just sleep on the warm beach. We have very hot deserts. Well, they freeze at night, but you get the point of what I'm saying. For the most part, we come from a place that is conducive, and they come from a place where it was survival for the fittest. You either were very ruthless and very good at what you do, or you died. So you see that they, on a subconscious level, instinctively, they evolved that way. That's the way they are predisposed. So when I sit with white chicks at work and I see that need to be the best, that need to compete, like a black woman cannot outshine me, that need to just like save face, like how can I be sitting here with somebody who might know more than me, that need to like always outshine you, outdo you. And if you're somebody like me who is talkative, you get along well with a lot of people, you're extroverted, you put yourself out there, they see you as a threat. They're like, no, I have to put you back to your place. If you understand where that is coming from, you will be cool with them. You will be cool with them. Because there's also a reason why you are the way you are. Everything is historical. Everything is as a result of your environment. So if you have that kind of understanding, like you pray and God has given you a certain level of wisdom where you get why people act the way they act, you won't find it difficult to work with them. So I guess that's my answer. That's my theory. That's how I think. You're free to tell me if you agree or disagree. And if you liked anything on this video, be sure to give me a like, be sure to share, and also let us interact. Let us try and make the world a better place by understanding one another. Like I keep on saying, I am trying to create a community of thinkers here. Once again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Elizabeth Irongo, and I'll see you on the next one. Be blessed. Bye.